another episode of Living Room Wisdom, where your story is your glory. I am Patrina Wisdom, abundance activator, best-selling author, TEDx speaker, and founder of the Pure Abundance Retreat. And I'm super excited to talk with my good friend here, Miss Kristi Hagaman, and she's a restaurateur, but she also is a neurolinguistic programming therapist. And if you don't know anything about NLP, you gonna learn today. So welcome. welcome. So first off, did I say your name properly? Yes. Score. Awesome. Well, I'm super excited for us to connect and for me to share you with the world, because you've got just quite the story, and I just love everything about who you are. So we just recently met. We're fast new friends. And so what I want you to do first is, rather than us going right into talking about what you do, I would really love for you to just share with our audience a little bit about who you are, because you're quite the multifaceted woman.
Well, thank you. I'd be glad to share. I know when we first met, it was at an interesting little event called the Ex-Jehovah's Witness Meetup, all about empowering ourselves after we've left a rather interesting religious organization. And so maybe I'll start with that, because that was a big deal. I was born and raised in, an amazing faith in many ways. And also, as time went on, not so amazing anymore. So that being said, I was probably in my early 30s, and I allowed myself to get excommunicated and or disfellowshipped, as they call it. So pretty dramatic, pretty much overnight. Everything disappears. Family, friends, community. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And even though it was a long time ago, I did not think I would cry. I didn't think I had any tears left for it. So basically, probably when you're in that religion, it is probably the worst thing that can ever happen, because, you go from having hundreds, maybe thousands of people in your world, and then it's gone, and you're
stripped, stripped of everything.
Very much. Now, as we know, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. And I remember waking up the very next morning and looking around going, okay, I'm okay. I didn't get struck
here
by lightning. I'm going to be okay. And then it just, I just started, just really kind of trying to figure out what the next best, steps would be. And as I was driving out to meet you here today, I was thinking, what really helped me. And I became an avid reader. I had a lot of time on my hands because I had no friends.
Yeah. Well, and if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, there are a lot of things that you are not permitted to read when you're a part of the religion, right? Because they don't want you exposed to a lot of outside ideas.
Exactly. So you pretty much read what was printed by the organization. And I thought I didn't like reading. And what I realized is I just didn't like reading the same thing over and over and over again. And it was kind of boring. Too. And it was just like, same. And so I started just reading all kinds of things, whether it was A Course in Miracles, Marianne Williamson.
Great books.
Neil Donald Walsh, Conversations with God. Because I also was like, okay, if I'm not going to stay within this, what do I believe? And that's probably why I got emotional too, because it rocked me to my core.
Of course.
It made me question everything I believed, everything I taught. I was a missionary within the church too, so I was out there, trying to get people to convert them because I really believed it.
Right.
So it's interesting when you have a pause in life and everything goes away and you're alone. It's a great opportunity to really dive in deep and think about, okay, do I really believe this? 32 years old. I'm like, what, how do I feel about, my past? A lot of good things, a lot of great memories, a lot of great connections. However, now that I'm quiet and now I'm starting to read all kinds of other things that are, I would call them new truths.
Right.
Like I always thought there was one truth, and in reality,
Yeah.
one of the first books I ever picked up was Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life.
Mm-hmm.
And I still just remember like picking it up and opening it and reading a couple things, and I went, oh my God.
Yep.
There is more to life than what I've been teaching, preaching, absorbing. And so that kind of led me. Now, when I left, I thought I would go back because of obvious reasons. Plus, I had a young son. That's why it gets me emotional, because it was very hard on him. And also, I always believed that I had good friends because of the community. And then I realized, oh, wait a minute. As time went on, I started building a new community, and I realized I have good friends because I'm a good friend. I know how to connect. I know how to be a good friend to others. So it didn't really take long. And then with all my, just additional researching of, just different ways of life, and I might have already mentioned, like, kind of dove into a little Tony Robbins and all, and I just felt like I can do this, and I'm strong. And it didn't take long for me to just realize that, oh no, this is not my truth anymore. There's no way I can go back to it.
You started to rebuild yourself, it sounds like.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have to say, yes, it was very, very difficult. And yet it was kind of cool.
Well, because you get to choose. You get to choose.
Yeah.
Because you were a part of the religion at a very young age, right?
Yeah, born and raised, yeah.
Right. So you had no choice in that matter. So at 30-something years old, to literally take back your power and make a choice had to have been like probably the most frightening thing ever and the most exhilarating all at the same time. Yeah.
So liberating. And it's always interesting too, because people in that world believe that, oh, you're leaving because you want to go and be naughty. You want to go out and do things, that you're not supposed to do. Not true.
Yeah.
You want the freedom to connect with
whomever
you want without judging them for their beliefs. And I found myself quickly surrounded by people of all different religions. And I realized, you know what? We're not all that different.
Right.
We, like there's this common thread where we just, we're all doing the best we can. And we, have a love for a higher power. We have a love for community. We have a love for our neighbors. We have a love for doing what's right. Okay, yeah, we all believe different things, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And in my world, it mattered very much so. So there was always this wall between myself and others. I was kind to others. I was, kind to the people I came in contact with that were outside. However, after, it was so much fun. And then, I remember reading the Celestine Prophecy, and it taught about like connection and coincidences and serendipity and energy and how we're all connected. And for some reason that sounded more true to me than anything else I had ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
And then I started experiencing it and having amazing moments when, like the right person would show up with the right information or the job
right at the right time
or the place to live. So then I started realizing there's so much beautiful, I don't say like magic and just it when you connect with your own intuition and you connect to what your heart, which is also an interesting thing because we were taught, do not follow your heart.
Oh, wow.
The heart is treacherous. There's a scripture in the Bible that says that. And so you're not supposed to trust your heart. You're supposed to trust this. And now we know. It's like it's actually the complete opposite.
You flipped it.
Yeah, it's like now I'm so much more heart-centered. And so, as a result, I built a completely different life.
Wow.
with
That's
different
amazing.
connections and friendships. And I have to say, I have no regrets. And I love the life that, I have created. I remarried. It's been years now. Married a chef, so we
Yeah.
opened up 2 restaurants in Encinitas that are thriving.
Yeah.
doing
Delicious.
well. Thank you. So it's interesting. And then I've always been so fascinated, too, with why we are the way we are, why we're wired the way we are. That's what led me into NLP because of going to Tony Robbins events. And
Yes, he's a
that
master.
is, the tools that he uses, watching how he can connect with someone and within 3 minutes get to the the root cause of their pain and what's going on. And so I was fascinated by that. And probably too the missionary in me, the person who was out there trying to help and serve. I find it interesting, full circle. So I did a lot of studies as well with NLP, which is neurolinguistic programming. I did a lot of studies with a beautiful company called Empowerment Partnerships.
Yeah. I think that's who I got certified with as well. With
Dr. Matt?
Yes.
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 Wow, small
Did
world.
Hona with him as well.
Yes.
Level 1.
Yeah.
Teaches you so much about
Amazing. And what I love about it is, are you actually doing that work, or did you do the NLP for yourself and your own journey?
Well, interestingly enough, I did it for myself for the intro level, and then I went to the next, which is the master course, which it was an intense 2-week, 12-hour day, course, and that was the intention. Actually, was I wanted to be able to help people like myself to meaning ex Jehovah's Witnesses that have left, that are suffering because they're still in the box of those limiting beliefs,
Right.
or the guilt, the shame, the sadness, the loss. And so that was my intention when I went through all of it, to learn how I can be of service in that way. And so, interestingly enough, though, I ended up taking yet another course because I love
Learning.
Education. And you have to grow. You have to continue till the day you die, in my opinion, or I don't think life is as interesting. So my favorite person that I have been seeing for probably 25 years as a spiritual coach is a numerologist. And she was my go-to person. She was my safe person. Her name's Pam Crane.
I know Pam.
The best. Well, anyhow, so she started teaching a course in 2020. And I was like, oh yeah, I got to do that for sure. So I took her course, and because of taking hundreds of people to her, and her being my person, my mentor as well, and again, spiritual guide, I am now a numerologist.
Oh, wow.
As well. So all of my training is very helpful in that realm, as well. So so now I lead with numerology. And what's so amazing about numerology to me is the fact that you can really dive in deep to a person's life lesson. You can dive in deep to what their soul's really about, who they are.
The truth of who they are.
The truth of who they are, exactly. As well as you can, if you believe in the possibility of past lives, you can look into that, which is fascinating. Even though we're meant to live this lifetime, but it's
well, it can inform.
It can inform.
That's for sure.
Because it's where we've been.
Yes.
Right? So where we've been is important to know because of what we're bringing into this lifetime. So I love working with clients one-on-one and doing a chart on their numerology, much like an astrological chart.
Yeah.
So I lead with that, and then and that to me can be really fun, too. And I'm all about fun. like speaking about like
And why not?
one of my values in all aspects of my life, you know, my businesses and my restaurant, my marriage, my friendships is fun.
Yeah.
Joy, and getting the most, that we can out of this life and having a good time.
Yeah.
So with numerology, it can be really fun.
Yeah.
Too. Now, when people need to dive deeper and they need to do some release work, we can go there as well. Mm-hmm. So I do a few things.
Do a bunch of modalities, witchery. So what I'm hearing then through your journey, I would love to hear. So it's like you were indoctrinated at a very young age. Mm-hmm. And then you had your awakening moment, yes. Right? Where you woke up and decided, oh, I'm going to take the reins and create this life. Who would you say you were before 30s, right? Before the awakening. Okay. And who are you now? What has been the shift?
That's a really good question. Mm-hmm. I think before I wasn't at my fullest potential, let's say. Maybe I played a little small. In that world, it is very male dominated. You are not, getting up on the stage. You are not speaking to the church. You are not, as a woman, you're very, submissive. Mm-hmm. And so I think the difference now is I see things completely different.
Yeah.
Who am I not to be on a stage,
right?
Educating and teaching.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't need to play small. Mm-hmm. I don't need to be confined in a box. Mm-hmm. And to be clear, I don't feel victimized by my experience by any means.
Yeah.
A lot were. Mm-hmm. However, I just feel more expansive. I feel happier. I feel more connected to the divine.
Yeah.
I feel, and it took some time,
of course,
because I'm questioning and then doubting what I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. And I just don't now. And I love living from my heart. Yeah. From my heart center and connecting with people in such a different way. Mm-hmm. So I feel more true to myself.
You had 30 years of indoctrination, 30 years of awakening.
Yes.
What's next? What's the next 30 years look like?
Ooh. I feel like I'm just stepping more into just being very comfortable and allowing myself to be guided, directed, listening to my intuition. Sometimes I think all of us that are doing any sort of spiritual work, we sometimes forget, too. So I feel like I've rewired, I've rewired myself that I am definitely more aware and more connected to my higher self that is always connected to source energy, to the divine, to God, the creator of all that is. So it's always connected. And I feel like I trust that more. And I realize
that's a big one
when I'm out of alignment, and so that I can get myself, back in alignment. Yeah. Huge fan of Abraham Hicks, so she's always in my head.
Yes.
Really, we pinch ourselves off from that flow, but it's always there.
It's all accessible to us at any time.
Always.
So if you have learned nothing else from our time together today, it doesn't matter if you've come from indoctrination or what your background is. At any moment, you can snatch back your choice and create any kind of a life that you want. And we have such a long, lovely life to live if we choose it. So with that, I want to thank you so much for sharing your story. Obviously, we could talk for hours, but I think that what she's offered today, if you really take that and apply it, can be a complete game changer. So thanks you again for tuning in to Living Room Wisdom, where your story is your glory. Subscribe to our podcast. Follow us on IG, Instagram, and Facebook, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.